That voice you hear and know so well, that voice you love so dear, one Jordan Pugh, former A&M defensive back, former NFL defensive back, currently looking for a gig. In the meantime, he got 10 gigs working, always juggling. The man can juggle 10 balls. Jordan Pugh joins us in studio. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Every time I get to come to the studio, you know it's a great time now.
You know, it's probably placebo effect, but every time you come in, my mind wants to kind of go down a couple notches because I need that pick-me-up.
Really?
I feel like, man, if I just kind of, all of a sudden I'm low, man. I need to get picked up. I need that Jordan Pugh, P-U-G-H, pushing up or going higher. By the way, the swag, JordanPugh29.com.
Yes.
The swag is good.
Oh, yeah. It has entered the studio.
It is.
It's finally here.
The swag's
you get a little
good.
swagged up a little bit in here. Let me tell you this. People ask me all the time, what does pushing up or going higher mean? Mm-hmm. When I say pushing up and going higher, it's a platform.
Yeah,
it's a platform for all of us. So I know as a football player, NFL player, as a inspirational, motivational speaker, I have a platform.
Yep.
And my platform has always been pushing upward and going higher. You know, striving for greatness. You talk about your passion, you talk about your purpose, and to thrive. You know, you're thriving to perform in whatever you do. Mm-hmm. You're pushing upward and going higher. That's so right. When I look at that, man, it's my platform, and that's how I embody it, and that's how everybody should take it. It should be their platform. You know, you got the swag to let everybody know that you're pushing upward and going higher, and that's what it means. That's what it's for, and it's something that you should have your lifestyle based on.
Well, I mean, if you're a professional in anything, you don't want to be stagnant.
Exactly.
You don't in your work as
Right.
a dad. Like, I really hope I'm a better husband next year than I am right now.
Right.
I can tell you, I got many things to work on.
Exactly.
Heck, you hope you're a better husband a year from now than you are because in a couple months you're going to be a husband.
Yes, I am.
I really hope I'm a better dad.
That's what I'm saying. And everything that you do, you're pushing upward and going higher. You're striving for it.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's a daily life, it's a daily lifestyle,
Man of
something that
faith.
you got to live out. Exactly.
You know, I hope I can spend one day a week and spending time with
who you telling
God and
who
prayer.
You telling?
I mean, it's everything though.
Exactly.
I think it's good, man. I've thought about it since we've been doing this.
It's a true lifestyle, and when you look at it, man, it's something that I had to sit down and I had to think. I'm like, okay, man, if I'm going to sit here and say this, I have to be living it.
Oh, sure.
So it's talking about pushing up and going higher. It's everything that you do. You just keep moving. You keep going.
I mean,
it's
in your
name. It is.
It's in your name. You can't say one thing, man, that was a great Mustard speech, but then did you see Jordan after Mustard speech?
Right.
Did you see what happened 2 hours later?
Exactly.
You can't be doing that.
Exactly. Plus,
people know who you are.
The fiance wouldn't like that too much either.
No, not at all. Absolutely not. All right, 693-1150, anything for Jordan Pugh. You can call us up, 693-1150.
Yes, you can.
I'll tell you what, Jordan wants to talk football with you on the radio.
Let's do it.
He really does.
I'm here. That's what I'm here for.
AM and
Let's
FM.
do it.
693-1150.
Ask me any question you want.
You can text in, Commerce National Bank text line 229-1939. We need to put Annie to work over there in the social center. So Annie's got a couple good text messages going. Now, we got to start with this. Got to ask it straight up because, you know, we got into this yesterday. Billy Lucci broke the news on Monday almost immediately after our show. See how he does that? Doesn't allow us to break it on the show. He was in studio, and then he got word. He got the tip, and he did it right after the show.
Right.
And then he was able to expound on it an hour later on his tap show.
Right.
The Belucci Hour. You see how that works?
I mean, just, maybe a little selfishness there. Just a little bit.
I think he got the tip real late and then put it out and then went to the Belucci Hour. So, but I wanted to talk. So we talked about this a lot yesterday. Okay. But I wanted to keep it rolling and talk about it with you as Brandon Williams moving from running back to corner because you played the spot.
Right.
Matter of fact, played in the NFL, but also played corner and safety and then corner again and then safety again.
Right.
I mean, you're like the poster child of the Fran era in Sherman of being moved around.
Right.
So what do you think he's going through now, which is going to be even more difficult than you had it, but as a guy who understands what he's going to have to go through to make this position change?
Wow. Well, the first thing is when I first heard about it, the first thing I thought about was, wow, do you not trust the guys that you have now?
Right.
You know, you look at Devontae, Garner, Donovan Wilson, Nick Harvey. I like those guys.
Victor Davis.
Yeah, and I'm just like, why now? You know, why would you not do that at the beginning of the spring?
Right.
Secondly,
he missed that developmental phase.
Exactly. And then secondly, it's like, well, you know, Brandon Williams, a running back, I like them at running back. So I'm like, well, what's the problem? And when you look at it, when you look at the change, when you look at the transition, it's going to be tough for him. You know, especially when you're going into the season, you have no experience playing there. It's a different world when you're out there on the island.
Sure.
Now, athletically, yeah, he can do it. They wouldn't put him over there if he couldn't do it athletically. But when you talk about transition, when you're talking about reading routes, reading 3-step, 5-step drops, when you talk about, quick hitches, understanding stems of receivers, that's a whole different world versus standing there, hitting the 2-gap on a power play or, running an option, something like that. So
mentally carrying the football is one of the easiest things to do in football.
Oh, yeah.
Not physically, but mentally, because it's an instinct thing. You either know how to do it or you don't.
I tell people this all the time. Corners probably have the hardest job on the field.
Besides quarterback.
Tell me why. I would debate that. I would debate that.
Let's debate it.
And I'm not saying that because I'm biased.
Gabe Box says quarterback. You say corner.
I say corner. Well, corner, the receiver, you got a guy who's out there 4.2, 4.3 speed. Let's just use that as an example.
A lot of times 6 inches taller.
Exactly. He knows exactly where he's going. You have to be able to react. So not only are you covering the receiver, but you're also reading the 3-5-step drop of the quarterback. So you have to be able to diagnose all that within, 3 to 5 seconds? And then on top of that, you have to be able to understand routes. You got to understand stems. You got to understand route combinations, all when it's happening and moving. Straight reaction.
And he's trying to jam you.
Exactly. So when you look at the offensive side of the ball, everything is pre-planned, it's pre-scripted because they know exactly what they're doing. Defensive guys, you're purely reacting. And especially that makes it harder at corner is you're in open space. So you got a freak athlete out there and you got another freak athlete. You got one who knows what he's doing. I'd put my money on the one who knows what he's doing versus reacting.
So you're a little nervous if on an island in press man, it's Brandon Williams on Duke Williams.
Yes. Yes, I am. Now, we talk about athletically, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, he can run with them.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But when you're talking about the ins and outs, the mental side of the game, he's got a lot of catching up to do.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel like this move never would have worked under Snyder based on Snyder's scheme and so much cover 2 and different types of zone coverages versus under Chief, it's like, all right, I'm going to give you that guy over there, and that's all you have to do is keep him from catching the football. Press man.
I would agree with that. When you look at, the Chavis styles, that man scheme, get your hands on him. When you look at Brandon, he's big, long, long arms.
Yep.
It can work one of two ways. When you look at the cover 2, cover 3, quarters type scheme, it's easy in a sense because you tell this guy this is your area. But at the same time, that's where you study route combination. That's where the combination of routes come in, with the receivers. Now, when you look at the man side, the man side is like, hey, this is your guy, but are you capable of covering this guy every single play? That's where it flips. It's the flip side. So I think if you're going to make a move, I think this is the move to make, especially under Chavis' system. So I think you make it now, especially in a man-type system. So I think it would be beneficial for him, and I think he can learn faster than if it was a zone scheme.
What if he was able to make this move? What a cool story would it be as a guy who, he's got like a 5-year-old, right? He's had a kid since high school.
Right.
And he's very committed. That's a big reason why he came down here. He came down from OU because he's like, I got to be close. I think he's got a couple, but I know one.
Exactly.
And he wants he's tasting success in football because it allows him to provide for his family.
Right.
It's very selfless. Everybody wants to be great in football if you play, but he's got many reasons why he's got to be great.
Right.
And so you might call it, well, this is a desperation move, but maybe Chief talked to him and said, I think you have a long-term future here versus a running back being a slim guy. National Football League, they're going to pop you.
Right.
If you think the SEC is tough to run between the tackles, wait till you get to the next level. Maybe he's – now, what a cool story is if it works and he was able to be a good contributor on defense, but still able to be that Iron Man effect, which is long lost in this type of football because he's going to try to still help out offensively. How cool would that be?
I think it would be a great story. One hell of a story. When you look at it, motivation can change a whole lot of things. You talk about having a family and you got to be able to provide for that family. That's something that when you get that desire, man, it's something that it's hard to stop.
Yeah.
When you look at the long term, this is something that is up in the air, though, when you talk about the long term effects of moving the corner, because it's like you have nothing to base it off of.
Right.
Now, if Chief sees something, he sees something because he's with them every single day. So you can't take anything away from that.
Yeah. Part of me just says, I trust John Chavis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But here's my problem is it makes me question what we have in the secondary now.
It does.
It just does because when you're moving a running back, you're not moving a receiver. You're not moving a slot guy. You're moving a running back to corner.
Yeah.
And it's – you look at, like you said, you got Harvey, Harris, all those guys. It's like, what happened in those 3 or 4 weeks? What happened to show Chavis that, hey, we need to do something?
Yep.
And so you got Elam coming in, long arm guy like that, and
see, but Elam's coming in having played mostly quarterback, and he's a true freshman.
Exactly.
I actually feel better about Brandon Williams playing next year than Elam.
The reason why it's shaky to me is because it's almost like having a freshman out there.
Yeah.
If you really want to be honest about the situation, it's like having a freshman out there, somebody who has no experience whatsoever. Now, I'm not saying he can't go out there and shine. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
I'm team Brandon Williams.
I think everybody's rooting for him. He's a good guy.
And it's just like, but as a defense, what does that say about your corner play? And we're not talking about safety play.
Yeah.
You got Justin Evans, you got Armani Watts.
No, we're talking about corners.
We're talking about strictly corner.
And really the one corner.
Yeah.
Because we think Devontae's going to be all right in this cover. I
like Nick Harvey.
I do too.
And I'm like, I don't know. But, when you look at it, I think if you're going to make a move, at least you do it now. You got all summer. You all summer try and coach them up. You got 7-on-7 with the guys out there that you usually do. So
apparently he's trying to lock up Speedy every day just because Speedy's going to give him the shake that he needs to prepare for.
And so, I think he can make the adjustment. But here's another thing. If you look at the offensive mind, let's flip it. Now, let's say he studies, routes of receivers. He knows combination, this and that. That's another thing that can flip, though, on that end, because he's had experience with that. He's been in offensive meetings. He knows what he's looking for.
Yep.
He knows what he's looking for to break down a defensive back. So that's another thing that can flip on that end. So I think there's highs and lows, but there's the question marks, and that's the hard part. So.
Well, before we go to break, then does it say if it says something negatively about that other cornerback position, and Chavis knowing he's got to figure out something, almost desperately looking for a player,
right?
Then what does it say positively about the running back position if they're willing to let a senior go? What does it say about James White? Because if he's not really good, they're not going to just rely on Carson coming off an injury.
Right.
Now, they think he's going to be fine, but that's one guy with experience. They must really like James White if they're going to let him go.
Right, and that's another thing that I thought about. You talking about White, you talking about Carson. The running back position is loaded. That's something where I think in the past we haven't utilized our running backs. We have those guys who can be home run hitters. We got Trey Carson who's the thunder to the lightning. And I think I think we have just talent all over the place for running back. But that does tell you about the running back spot. If you're willing to give up Brandon Williams, you have something at the running back spot.
Yeah.
And so I think
not to mention the freshman.
Exactly.
Bradford Bussey.
And yeah, exactly. And that's another point I want to make with Bussey coming in. Do you expect him to play right away? A 3 running back tandem. So we'll see, man. We'll see how it shapes out. I'm rooting for Brandon. It's going to be a transition, though.
Yeah,
it's going to be a transition. But I think it's a desperate move. But at the flip side, offensively, I think we got something special.
We'll go to Annie, and we'll read a bunch of these text messages one by one. Annie in the Social Center.
All right, Jordan, here's your first one. Who do you see as the back 4 against ASU? Also, do you think any of the incoming fish make a difference in the defensive backfield? # pushing upward, going higher.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so the first question, the 4. Talk
back
about the 4.
Who's your starters at DB?
I got Harris. As of right now, Nick Harvey.
Okay.
Then Armani and Justin Evans.
What if you go nickel first play? Who's your 5?
Donovan Wilson.
Yeah,
I got to put him at the nickel spot. You got to put Wilson at the nickel spot. Now, if we talk about a freshman.
Most likely freshman to play at DB right away, make an impact.
I got to go Elam. It's between Elam and Dunning. I'll put that. Yep. But I got to go Elam. He's got the size. He's got the length.
That's no knock on Pryor because he's a man too.
I think with what Chavis wants, with the man scheme, the 4-3 edge rushers, I think that's the guy he wants. Get your hands on him, disrupt all the routes. That's something that you could teach early. So I think he comes in and he plays immediately.
All right, Annie. Another one?
All right, number 2. Hunter from Fort Worth asks, question for Jordan. How helpful is 7-on-7 for corners, and will it help someone like Brandon catch up?
Good question.
Oh, that's the first time I've ever had that asked. 7-on-7 for corners. Well, I'll put it this way. It's good and it's bad. Let's put it that way. It's good because you have to cover all day long. Receivers, they start running a lot of make-believe routes. So it makes you more attentive.
Yep.
And that's the bad. But the good part, is repetition over and over again. So when you got somebody like Brandon moving the corner, the more and more reps that he gets 7-on-7 wise, 1-on-1 wise, the more and more he'll learn. He'll figure out his strengths. He'll figure out his weaknesses, and that's what really helps. And that's why a lot of guys do that during the summer, that little break between school and fall camp.
Absolutely. All right. It's good to have a quarterback that can lead.
Yes.
Because then you get everybody out there, and I think Kyle Allen's going to rally the troops this summer.
Exactly. Yeah, me and Gerard used to do that every summer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got together and we'd get the guys. So.
And he knows he better rally the troops and get this team behind him because he knows what's coming.
Yes, he does.
Out of Allen, Texas.
Yes, he does.
All right, Annie.
All right, number 3. Does the Brandon Williams transition and his family motivation reflect Mike Evans and his move from basketball? I feel like Mike's motivation made all the difference in how well he played.
Was going to get a serious girlfriend. They're now engaged.
Right.
Ashley Dotson from Galveston.
Yep.
And they had a 2-year-old.
Right. Yeah, I knew that story. I think that has a lot to do with it. When you have just a child of any sort, and you know that it falls on you, everything falls on you, there's a different motivation. And I think
– Did you see that in the locker room in college? There were guys that had kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And, when you look at that, I mean, who Mike Goodson, Jaworski Lane.
Right. Jaworski had a couple.
Yeah. When you look at all that, those guys, they know that everything falls on them.
Yeah.
And so when they go out to practice, when they go out to these games, it's a different motivation. I think, who was it? I can't remember who got married. I want to say it was maybe Misi Toupe that got married that last year there. And it's just a different motivation. You know that you have to provide. And one way that you can do that, it's not always through the sport. But one way that you can do it, and you can do it fast, is through the game that you love to play. So I think there's a different motivation. I think he'll use that as his advantage.
Annie?
All right, number 4. How does this change compare to Askew's a couple years ago? Bold prediction: Williams will lead the Aggies in at least one defensive category. Get him on the field.
All right, talking about Nate Askew, and that was even a weirder move, receiver to linebacker.
Well, Nate had the frame, though.
Oh, of course, no doubt.
Yeah, Nate was big.
He just couldn't catch the ball. He wasn't going to play offensively.
Big, man. Let's see, defensive category. I'll say this. For him to lead in a defensive category, it's all on him. You have to be relentless. Especially, and that's where the motivation factor comes in. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want to learn? And do you want to make an impact? Now, there's a lot of guys on the defensive side that, you look at Garrett, Hall, Watts, Evans. I mean, he's going to put some work in to be a leader on that defense. So we'll see what happens. I'm rooting for him, but we'll see what happens.
Jody and Forney, Commerce National Bank text line. Chavis probably realized that Brandon, who is the fastest guy on the team, has a better chance to go to the next level at corner rather than running back. So we hit on that. Maybe he should have always been a defensive back. Well, it's hard to say. I don't know if he's ever been a defensive back. It's hard to say.
Well, I'll say that. When you look at the running back, what is he? About 200 now?
He now is. He was 180.
Yeah, 180.
But he's 6 foot.
He's slim frame. He's tall for a running back. So not really a low center of gravity.
He's plenty tall for a corner.
Yeah, long arms. That's he's long. That's the one thing about him. And you look at the speed. I mean, speed kills regardless. So you can teach athleticism. I say this all the time. You put your athletes out there because you can coach that.
Yeah.
If you're not athletic enough, then you don't need to be out there.
Sure.
So I think we'll see how it plays. I think he can make a lasting impact at that corner that can move to the next level? We'll see. We'll see. There's just nothing to go off of.
Right.
And that's
real
the hard
part. To project
yes,
that.
Exactly.
It makes it fun to talk about, though.
It does.
Annie?
It does.
Social Center.
All right, last one, hitting back on our top 100 list. We have a question from Jacob in College Station. He says, just searching for thoughts. Shouldn't great players today be considered better athletes than guys back in the early days? Players are stronger and faster now than they were in the 30s and 60s. Shouldn't they be higher on the list?
This isn't the best athletes list. Brandon Leone's top 20, if that's the case. Mike Goodson makes this list going away. There's so many. Right. If this is best athletes, Brandon Williams is. This is not the best athletes of all time. Babe Ruth never makes a top 100 best athletes ever to play baseball. But Adam Jones, the center fielder of the Orioles, is on that list. But this is players. So you take era to era,
exactly.
and that's really hard to do, right? Babe Ruth. Versus Barry Bonds, or Oscar Robertson versus Michael Jordan versus LeBron James.
Right.
I mean, it's a tough deal. Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman.
Right.
That's not even an argument. In my opinion, it's Staubach. But, you look at it, that's difficult. My opinion is that's not what this list is. And you got to compare impact that they made on campus, on the field. And it's a totally different deal when you're talking about a player in the 20s playing both ways. And if you sub out, you're done for the half. You can't resub in.
Right.
Different game.
Right.
And you played both ways. You had to, because they're only, look, there were 11 dudes when DX Bible had to go up and pull King Gill down from the stands.
Yep.
Now they're 105 guys, Different game. You still have to look at it all and say impact that they made as student athletes.
I agree with that. I think you have to go based on era. Now, let's use Michael Jordan and LeBron James as an example. When you look at LeBron.
MJ hands down, by the way.
Oh, yeah, hands down. But you look at LeBron. LeBron is one of the best athletes that ever came through the NBA. Just pure athleticism.
Yeah, absolutely.
But does that make him the best basketball player?
No.
I wouldn't say that. Now, when you look at Michael Jordan, he's the best basketball player. And offense, defense, whatever it is.
Yeah, Bird's not on that athlete list, but Bird is right there with LeBron on the player list.
Exactly. I've seen guys in the NFL where, I've seen guys run 5 flat 40s.
Yeah.
Playing linebacker. But they're everywhere on the field.
Was London Fletcher fast?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, wasn't fast, but I'm telling you.
Multi-year Pro Bowler.
I'm telling you, this guy was everywhere. So when you talk about there's a difference between an athlete and a difference between what's the best word? I say a player.
Yeah.
That's the only word I can think of.
No question.
A player. So when you look at that as a whole, you got to judge what he did, like you said, the impact on the field. What did they do on the field? How did they impact, and how did they change the nature of a game? Right. And so that's what I see. So you look at the Babe Ruths. You can throw, the MJs, the LeBrons, the Kobes.
Yeah.
Prime example, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's a terrible athlete.
Yeah.
But
absolutely,
when he gets on that field, it's game changing.
Oh, he's a top 5 to 10 player ever in the NFL.
So you got to look at era. You got to look at impact and what they did at their time, and that's all you can judge on is their time. You'll never know what happens, but between now and what happened in the past.
If the topic was best athletes, there'd be 2 or 3 players ever before 1972.
Right.
Which was when Emory Billard started recruiting the black athlete, and A&M and college football became a place where freshmen played right away, and A&M benefited from that by going out and getting a bunch of guys. Bubba Smith went to Michigan State.
Right.
When Michigan State's head coach Darrell Royal was down in the Beaumont area. And the Michigan State head coach asked Darrell Royal from Texas, what are you doing in my recruiting area?
Right.
Because Michigan State and the northern schools were able to go pull that guy.
Right.
And the teams in the South, they didn't do it.
Exactly.
For whatever reason. How weird is that Michigan State considered Beaumont their recruiting base?
Right. Exactly.
And the Golden Triangle.
Right.
Well, things have really changed at Texas, at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M. We know about all that. And the best athletes have been since 1972.
Well, let's look at it like this. Let's go Jim Brown.
Sure.
Let's go O.J. Simpson. We can throw Bo Jackson in there.
Yep.
When you look at them, when we're talking about athlete, look at Bo Jackson.
Yeah, Bo Jackson's the best athlete ever to play running back. He's not the best running back ever.
Yeah, but you talking about pure just athleticism. O.J. Simpson, Jim Brown. It's like you can't judge. You have to judge based on what they did at their time. You look at Barry Sanders. A lot of people, they don't know Barry Sanders.
Oh, he's amazing.
I tell Barry Sanders, people all the time, Barry Sanders, hands down the best running back I've ever seen.
I agree with that.
I'm talking about ever seen.
And I'm an Emmett guy.
And you could throw Walter Payton in there, all those guys. So you just got to go based on errors, based on times, and what they did in their moment.
Well, that was fun, Jordan.
Yeah.
We're already out of time.
Love it.
Thank God we got some watching tape segments coming up.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's do it.
Thank you, brother.
Let's do
all right,
it.
we got some watching tape segments coming up for our TexAgs premium subscribers we're going to get to later.